Ultimately, like, I don't understand how you call it unforeseen circumstances. Like, you know it's coming. Like, how can it be unforeseen when you know it's coming? And how is that the only thing you give us? I mean, this is literally the CAF statement. The CAF statement is literally in the light of unforeseen circumstances. Well, to me, I think it's actually foreseen, and it's a little bit their fault. But we're going to talk about that here. Because if you didn't already know, CAF has pushed the 2026 WAFCON, Women's AFCON, from March all the way to the summer months. And we're going to talk about why I think it is, because they didn't give us a reason, which means speculation mania is going to run wild. Let me know what you think at the end of the video. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. And if you didn't already know, we're here to talk about CAF postponing the Women's AFCON, WAFCON, we're going to refer to it as here, by a few months. It was supposed to start in the month of March. It's supposed to start next week. Actually, if you literally go to Google, look it up, the matches are still set to be scheduled for Wednesday, March 18th, but it's not going to happen. And the 17th, mainly because it has been postponed. As you saw in the statement earlier, CAF has postponed after discussions with CAF, its partners, FIFA, and other stakeholders. CAF decided to reschedule the dates of the Total Energies CAF WAFCON to July 25th to August 16th in 2026 to ensure the success of this important women's competition, because this is the African Championships as well as the African World Cup qualifiers. And we kind of put ourselves in this position. I want to go to a tweet which I saw, which I think starts to break down where we kind of are here, right? And this says that this is the third time in the last 6 years that they've had to move or they've canceled a WAFCON. Right, in 2020, it happened due to the pandemic. I think you can give them a pass for that. Sure. If you want to say they still could have played, I mean, that's your right, but I'll give them a pass for that. The 2024 WAFCON, which is kind of why we're in this situation to begin with, was supposed to take place in 2024. The 2024 WAFCON was supposed to take place 2 years ago. It happened last summer, which means the turnaround going from one WAFCON to the next WAFCON was literally a calendar year. Oh, and did we mention that 2022's, 2024, and 2026 are all hosted by the same nation, Morocco? That's not enough turnaround time. Now, it's the funny thing, when this was starting to lead up, you were seeing a lot of people. The uncertainty of it really fed into a lot of the antagonistic discourse between Africans, right? And especially on the heels of what happened at AFCON. Listen, there was a lot of North Africa versus everyone else in Africa discourse, very antagonistic, that was happening. And it didn't help that nothing was clear or explained. And so this is where we find ourselves. The tournament gets moved by a few months. Now, to me, I think the interesting thing is, if you read the actual, we're going to jump through it all over the place. If you read the actual press release, right, between CAF, its partners, so sponsor school, FIFA, and other stakeholders. And I think this is the interesting thing for me. WAFCON has typically been a summer tournament in the last few editions. And I think that might play a unofficially, or it's an off-season tournament, right? If you go to, for instance, the 2018 WAFCON, right? The African Cup of Nations for women, that happened November to December, but that was only with 8 teams. That was Ghana. That was the last time it wasn't hosted by them, right? The next one, which was 2022, that was in Morocco. That was a July tournament. That's 2022. That was the July tournament that happened, and that is a summer tournament. The next edition, another summer tournament, which was again last summer, again in Morocco. I think the timing is interesting because we have to speculate because we don't have anything else true. Who would make it? Is it partly Morocco saying, hey, somehow we've ended up hosting these three and we need a breather? If that's the case, if you're CAF, why don't you have a plan B? Is it other stakeholders? Right now in the women's game, Asia's having their qualifying cup, which means for clubs, especially European clubs, a lot of their players who are of Asian descent are away. Could this be another situation where maybe it's the football clubs that are going to FIFA and then CAF or CAF and then FIFA and saying, hey, we're not saying don't have it, but it's a lot to lose a lot of players because if WAFCON was happening next week, you would then run the gamut where the Asian qualifiers and WAFCON would overlap each other in the middle of the women's European season, which means you're talking about European competitions, Champions League. Teams want to make sure they have their best teams and the players and all that fun stuff. I wonder if that plays a role. I wonder if FIFA would rather just put this in the summer, which means it's at the end of the season for the European season. For the North Americans, it's the middle of their season, which means you're going to lose. Someone's going to lose players during the competition. If you're North American clubs, you prefer it in March because, hey, those players get their pre-camp going, so they come to camp a little bit more fit and ready to go. If it's in the summer, they lose players for a bit because most, I think, both on the American and the Canadian leagues, they don't necessarily break fully for tournaments and a tournament like that. So I wonder how much of the clubs were kind of playing and getting into the ear of both CAF's representatives as well as FIFA's representatives going through. Or maybe it's just something that we're missing altogether. I don't know. But to me, it's disappointing because I was looking forward to having this tournament here, right? I was looking forward to have it for March. It would have led right through the men friendlies. We would have known at least another set of teams going to the Women's World Cup. As by the end of March, we'll know the Asian teams going to the Women's World Cup. But then we could have also known the African teams going as well as teams going to the IC playoff. So it's a little bit disappointing. And especially on the week as I'm recording this, it's International Women's Day and whatnot. But I think it puts those teams at especially the qualified teams who were ramping up specifically for it, right? Ghana was at the Pink Ladies Cup. You had Nigeria within getting friendlies, getting ready to go. Nigeria and Cameroon had some nice friendlies, right? Going one on one. Other teams were going and preparing, and now you have to stall that preparation and then postpone it. And you can't get into, and the unfortunate thing is, CAF, it seems to be they're doing this with the women's tournament. You can't keep pulling the rug from them, especially when you have a team, when you're ramping up, right? You're playing friendlies, you're getting ready for the competition. Now you have to put that on pause. And then now it's going to be a disruption for the season. It's going to be disruption, or maybe for maybe whatever the national team summer programs were. I think it's just so unfortunate that A, it's being pulled and being postponed, but also B, especially with all the speculation that was going on before at the beginning of the year, for CAF not to get ahead of this and just say, hey, we have to do this now, but we get ahead of this, let the federations know so that they don't start planning. Because I know people who had tickets who were getting ready to fly out and now they're not able to go. And I think that is truly unfortunate. But that is the news. CAF has pushed WAFCON to the summer for unforeseen circumstances, but because we don't know what it is, we have to speculate. I think it leaves a lot of teams in the lurch. We don't know anything, so we have to speculate whether it's Morocco needing a breather or not wanting to host. Because there was that also when the South African sports minister first initially said, "Hey, we can host. We're going to host it," and then it was, "Oh no, if Morocco can't host it, then we'll host it." But why couldn't Morocco host it? But then if you're going to host it, why aren't you ready to host? I'm saying hosting it a lot. Regardless, there was no plan B, and I think it shows. And I think on the women's game, it shows the lack of planning and organization that this happens not only here, but it also created a time crunch when they pushed back 2024's WAFCON by 15 months, 19 months. There was no reason why you should be playing two back-to-back WAFCONs when you know that's the case. 2024 should have been played in 2024. But I'll leave it here, guys. You let me know what you think. What do you think is the reason why it was postponed? And ultimately, do you think it's going to affect the teams and their players that are trying to go? Again, as a reminder, what is at stake here? This is another continental championship, but it's also World Cup qualifiers. The semifinalists make the World Cup, and then the winners the winners of the four quarterfinal losers, that's a mouthful. The teams who lose in the quarterfinals will play each other in a playoff one playoff in game, and the winner of those two matches will go to the IC playoff. So that is what is at stake. But you guys let me know what you think. Who is to blame here? Is it the federation? Is it a country? Is it the clubs getting into the ears of different federation? Let me know. But as always, I'll stop talking right here.